4.
Oh my
And in US, because that's what I'm used to,
God.
it's a 27 degrees. So 27 degrees, that's cold for here, just
Yeah,
FYI.
yeah.
That's cold for here. So I'm sitting in front of this fire.
It's rainy and cold in North Carolina too. Rainy and cold.
Is it? Are you
But I
guys
don't,
just above freezing?
are we live? Are we live? I think we're live. Well, hello everybody. It's noon and Beth Ann and I are here to chat with you today about building confidence as a
That's
major
right.
officer or building confidence to reach out to your donors. Beth Ann, we hear all the time people say that they don't have confidence. What do you think?
Or yes, or when I speak to major gift donors, I feel, and it's words that are about not feeling. I'm not sure what to say. I feel like I'm, too small for them. I don't know what to say to rich people. I always there have been people who've said that to me. And these aren't actually rich people. They may have resources, but they're your donors.
I
They're your
know.
donors.
Let's talk about first the problems and the if you don't have confidence in your ability and your skills to develop relationships, to reach out, pick up the phone or write the email and reach out to a donor, what happens if you don't have the confidence? Beth Ann, what happens?
Well, you're tongue tied, you stumble sometimes on your words. You're not a smooth talker. You don't come in with just, verbal confidence even. And sometimes your body language, if you're in person, becomes tense and hunched. And you really don't want to do that.
And also, I think it keeps you from a lot of people find reasons to not reach out to donors. People who have jobs as major gift officers or frontline major gift fundraisers, they are supposed to have a job reaching out to donors, but they find many other things to do. Things like
Yes.
a memo, meeting, report, anything to keep them from having to pick up the phone or reach out for an appointment. Haven't you seen that, Beth Ann?
Yes, I call that phone phobia, and it especially I think happens when you're, uh, you know, cell phone native talking or having a donor who's a landline native, and you just feel like the phone weighs 10,000 pounds, and you are going to have a bad conversation. And that's not the case with so many of our donors. They're used to speaking on the phone. They like hearing from organizations that they care about.
I know when I was a frontline fundraiser, I had to wait till I was having, I have good days and bad days, right? And I
Yeah,
had to
sure.
wait till I was having a good day to reach out to the donors because it took extra effort. It took bravery because I was feeling small, you
That's
know.
right.
And,
That's
and so
right.
and so I did not make as many calls as I could have made. This is the thing, everybody. If we're going to engage with major donors, if we're going to get to know them and have them like us and like our organization, we have to have the nerve and the courage and the self-confidence to reach out to them.
That's right. And Gail, if a donor actually doesn't want to talk to you, they simply won't pick up the phone. But that doesn't mean every time you don't get a phone picked up means that they don't want to talk to you. They may be busy. I think calling and making the phone an option to reach out to you, leaving a very friendly message, and not talking at the donors, I think is one of the most important things. Do you
Mhm.
agree?
Yeah, yeah, I really do. But I want to talk a little bit more about what's at stake and what the
Mm.
problems are, the challenges are before we give you the solutions to gaining confidence, like what is at stake? Want to answer that one, Beth Ann?
Yeah, I mean, donors gave to you, if they're donors, prospects because they're interested, because they wanted to help you solve a problem. Whatever your mission is, they want to help you solve that problem or keep something at bay or make something happen. And when you stop communicating for your own on your own side of that, they are missing that connection. Donors want to have a relationship with your nonprofit, and they do that through you.
And they say that only 1 in 3 donors really
Mm-hmm.
is willing to engage with you, and that's okay too. I have seen fundraisers beating their head against the wall with donors who won't respond, and it makes you feel really bad when the donor doesn't respond, right? But then there are donors who love you, and so we work with them.
The dirty secret is it's not just about you, the fundraiser. They may just be busy in their lives. I always say somebody's dog ran away today. This isn't the day they want to pick up the phone and speak with you.
Right.
But being in communication is really vital to create the trust and to build the relationships.
And we always preach permission, right? And
Yes.
who knows, maybe asking permission to reach out is a way to feel more confident. What do you think?
Yes, and I think even, we do a lot of thank you calls using the entry that we use for donor thank you calls. Hi, it's Beth Ann Locke. I'm from the Vancouver Public Library Foundation Board. Do you have a minute so I can tell you how your gift went to work this year? Just that little, do you have a minute? May I speak to you for a moment? Would you like to hear? Those kinds of permission-based phrases ahead of what you're saying really help the donor feel like they have control of the situation.
Yeah, and let me unpack. Beth Ann included a lot of tips, everybody, in that one little couple of sentences. And one of her great suggestions for entry into or what is the pretext for reaching out to the major donor? Because people are always, oh, well, what's my pretext? A thank you phone call.
That's right.
And Beth Ann phrased it so beautifully in that I'm so and so and this is my job and I just want to thank you and bring and let you know about the impact that you made. And remember that use the word you. Thank you and let you know about the impact you made. Three U's in one sentence. Do I get a gold star?
Yes, yes. You get a triple U all the way around. The other thing, Gail, is a lot of times, I mean, and I've been guilty of this, we call to tell the donor something instead of calling to listen to what the donor's thinking, saying, or wondering about us.
In fact, I was once coaching or mentoring a young woman who is a fundraiser and she worked for Make-A-Wish. And she
Mhm.
said, Gail, nobody's willing to see me or meet with me. And I said, well, what are you saying when you ask for the appointment? And she said, I'm asking them for time so that I can tell them, so I can bring them up to date on what Make-A-Wish is up to. And I said, well, you're going to have to change your approach if you want
Mhm.
appointments. You've got to let them think that they are doing the talking. They don't want to listen to a presentation, right?
Mm-hmm. 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 And it also makes the relationship very one-sided. Let me tell you, here's what I have to say. I mean, I don't know if you remember, but when COVID first started, a lot of us were calling donors and saying, how are you doing?
How are you
What are you
doing?
feeling? What's going on? And that is fine to do now. You don't have to have a worldwide pandemic to ask these questions. And it gives the donor a chance to be with you, not in just the transactional space. I made a gift and now, you're calling to thank or you're calling to tell me. It creates that relationship, which we talk about as building blocks, little stepping stones with
Mhm.
normal conversation.
So Beth Ann, let's start. We when we were preparing for this LinkedIn Live, we came up with a lot of strategies to help you build confidence. And Beth
Mm-hmm.
Ann, one of your suggestions that I really like is the idea that you are not bothering the donor. You're making up these stories in your head, right?
That's right. That's right. I mean, this is kind of when we get into kind of a negative spin on I'm not interesting to talk to or whatever. I'm going to call the donor and that is going to bother them. You personally might not like phone calls. You personally might not like making phone calls, but this isn't just about you. It's about the relationship the donor has with your nonprofit and you're the conduit to that. So pick up the phone and just call. And even what we said when we make thank you phone calls, you can leave. Or just, I wanted to give you a little update. I know you've been really enjoying supporting X program. Here's just two facts. And if you want to have a conversation, let me know. The other thing I do is ask them, do you like to have me call you? Is this the best number? That way they can answer, no, I prefer emails, or yes, but my better number is, that kind of thing. And it's really about coming to meet your donor where they like to be and not just what is easiest for you.
That's right. And everybody, the reason we're doing these happy LinkedIn Lives every week is because we are running our promotion and registration period for our 2025 Major Gifts Intensive, and it closes next week. What is it, next Thursday, the 20th?
On the 20th. Yep.
And
Yep.
we've got a lot of applications. A lot of organizations are joining us this year for 4 months of training, hands-on training and coaching, and we can help you master these skills, build confidence, you and your team, and set up a structured, systematic major gift
That's
program.
right. hmm And this, you and I believe, Gail, that now is the time to just strengthen the program that you have, get the skills so you feel comfortable, so that you
Yeah.
can move into the ask. You can do great cultivation, and you can close more major gifts.
Absolutely, absolutely. And Beth Ann was saying yesterday that it's not major gift fundraising is not a place for sink or swim training. I
That's
love
right.
it. It's not a place. Yeah. Uh,
Well, sometimes people get hired, it's just go do it. And although it is very natural to get into conversations, this is not necessarily easy being a
It's
major gift
not,
officer.
and it's not intuitive. There's skills and approaches that you can learn, just like the permission approach that we just
hmm
talked about. Is that
hmm
asking the donor, is this a good time? Or may I share? Or would you like to know? I mean, it's polite. What do you think?
Yes. And I think many, not all of our donors, but many of our donors who have accumulated wealth tend to be on the older side, not all of them. And they're used to what I would call the more typical exchange in a phone call, sort of one person speaking, the other person responding, perhaps at length, and just those niceties of please, thank you, etc. And I think it just makes things go smoother. But
That's
again, I think, Gail, asking your donors questions and letting them speak is one of the key things that many nonprofits just don't do.
That's right. And so let me talk about the idea of approaching when you're reaching out to a donor, approach it like a classic discovery call.
Mm,
And if you can remember, everybody, a discovery call is when you were trying to find out information from your donor. You are not doing a lot of talking. And remember, I'm really big on if the donor knows that they get to be the one doing the talking, they're much more likely to respond to you. And the bigger the VIP, the more they expect to talk.
that's
Um,
right.
and so asking the donor questions, so if you'd be willing to share, I'd love to know how you came to make this gift. That is
hmm
this wonderful way. Or I'm calling all of my assigned donors this week, and I just want to see how you're doing and wish you a happy Valentine's Day. I mean, what's wrong with that?
That's right. Or what plans do they have? Any travel plans coming up? Are they getting together with family coming up because there's some bigger holidays on the horizon?
Yeah.
I think it's just very natural that way, and you can learn so much just by saying, all in addition to how the gift came about, is what resonates most with the work we're doing with you, and that lets you know a lot about their values and their interests.
So Beth Ann, we have a question from
But,
Martine.
oh, yes.
She wants to know, can we do an example check-in call? You want to do a role play?
Oh, yes. Yeah, we can do that. Do you want to be the caller or
No
the?
agenda, no agenda for solicitation or thank you right after a gift, just to check in without
Yes.
using the words want to update you.
Yes.
We just gave you
Absolutely.
that minute ago. We just gave you some words. I'm calling just to wish you a happy Valentine's Day. I hope you're well. Thank you so much for all that you do for our organization.
That's right. Or, hi, it's Beth Ann. If you're leaving a message, we really appreciate your support. I love looking up people and seeing how long they've given. I really appreciate your support over the last decade or over the last several years. And it's champions like you that keep our work going, flowing, and growing. And I'd love to tell you more, but if you have an opportunity, you can give me a call at, there's your digits.
Yeah.
So it's easy. I also like, Gail, to put an image of what's the impact we're working on. So, I've worked quite a few places. So, is it babies? Is it, I worked at United Way, I worked at higher ed. Just an image there to remind you what we're doing, who we're working for. It helps.
Yeah. And so I think starting with a thank you is disarming, it's kind, it's engaging to the donor, and you say a few words about how wonderful the donor is and they're being so gracious in your thank you, and then you stop and the donor's going to say something back.
Yes.
They're going to say something back and then you can say, gosh, I'd love to know, would you be willing to share with me how you came to make this gift to us?
hmm
And I want to speak a little bit about the concept of likability. We have talked about that in the past, and we teach likability skills, believe it or not, in our Major Gifts intensive course. Likability is how you come across. you want to be gracious, you want to be kind, you want to be slightly deferential, you don't want to bother them, but you're also very professional. And likability is sort of a funny word. You can think of it as personal grooming and how you present yourself. You can think about it in terms of etiquette and how you hold the fork or open the door or let somebody out of the elevator. You can think of it in terms of kindness and
Hmm.
being donor-centered and being donor-oriented. But also there's this element of emotional and social intelligence that I love to talk about. There's my angel here, and Skippy is on this side, green horns, angel and green horns. And so who's going to run the show in my head? It says, be mindful.
I think it's important that you also consider it's the culture. So it isn't that you have to dress a certain way, a suit, for instance. Although
Yeah,
usually when I've been at hospitals and higher ed, I do dress that way. But it's dressing according to the culture of your organization and representing them. So some places that's very dressed down. I mean, when I was at United Way, we if when I first showed up with a suit, I did not look like I fit in. So understanding you're representing the culture. And I think, Gail, being authentic. Penelope Burke talks a lot about this. So you don't have to be someone else. You don't have to wear a mask, but you do just come forward with your professionalism.
yeah. And I want to give you another pointer, everybody, about how to build confidence, and that is preparation.
Yes.
Everybody tells us that the more prepared they are, the more confident they feel. And so you look up your history with your donor. You look up how recently they have given him what they gave to. You know whether they attended your gala or went on, or whether they're volunteers, or whether they're monthly
Yes.
donors, or whether they're bequest donors. I mean, if you show up as knowing this information and being grateful for their partnership, that's much better. And also, you can even do a role play. I was
Yes.
I was coaching somebody this morning for a hugely important visit with a major donor lady, mega. I would say this lady is a mega donor. And they had this one chance, and she's been giving to them all along. And we talked a lot about asking her to share again why she cares about so much about the organization and why
Yeah.
she loves these particular projects she's funding, and let her talk and 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 talk about how she feels. Remember, giving is an emotional act. And I said, you're not planning an ask, but it's going to be really easy to say, would you like to be part of our next step? Or would you like to know what our next step is in these two projects you love? So again, think they were working with a consultant with a lot of experience, and actually in the major gift coaching program, we coach a lot on closing gifts, don't we, Beth Ann?
Yes,
Love,
absolutely. And
love
I
it.
think that's key to help you translate things into your actions back at the office.
Yeah, yeah.
Gail,
So,
one thing about confidence also, just along what you're talking about, is preparing, but also preparing for any objections or questions.
oh
I
yes.
think when we're caught on our back foot that way, we don't have confidence in the conversation. Of course, you want it to go perfectly, but being prepared for those what ifs, or I'm not sure about X, or if there's been some recent controversy, being able to come forward with whatever your nonprofit is saying, or a different side of the story. If there's something in the media, I think that is so key for you to have those answers with inside you or in your hip pocket to be
Yeah.
able to feel confident in the conversation.
Okay, Beth Ann, I want to walk into some volatile territory here. Um,
Okay.
what if your organization is facing a serious cut in federal funding, and you have a loyal donor, but you don't know their politics? Because we're hearing that from some people. Uh,
Yes, yes.
and so let's talk frankly about how you might handle that call. And
Sure.
I would suggest that it's a would you like to know? Would you like to know that what's happening with our funding? Very, very factual. And I think if this donor's been funding you with major gifts or smaller gifts, they're committed to your mission and they want to help you anyway. What do you think, Beth Ann?
Yes, and I think the way to talk about this, to me, is talking about we're in a dynamic time instead of saying we're in a crisis.
Mhm.
A crisis, there are crises for sure, but talking about that, because that will start to tease out what your donor is thinking. I think it's about time they cut back on all that government spending, or yes, I know, I'm just not sure what's going to happen. And then you can move into, a lot of our funding is delivering programs to help the X or to do the Y. I mean, right now I'm thinking of some of the immigrant resettlement, say.
Right.
And we've been doing that for the government for, with federal dollars, you might say, with federal dollars for the last 25 years,
Mhm.
but it's quite dynamic time thinking about that funding. And we want to be able to continue supporting people. I mean, I know that whole immigrant resettlement might be, but if that's what you're doing,
If that's your
then
organization's mission.
that's
And the
right.
donor's
That's
been
right.
funding, if the donor's been funding that mission, there's no reason not to let them know what's going on and ask them if they'd like to help.
Yeah.
But you don't
I
have
had
to,
a,
don't have to be pushy about it. You want to find out where they stand. You could say, what are your impressions of the current situation with funding immigrant relief? If
that's
that's
right.
or funding the arts, because the arts could be on the chopping block, or whatever environmental policy organization has lost its funding. So I think that and we're gonna work more with I think we're gonna do a LinkedIn Live later, maybe next week, on this particular topic on what to say. Uh,
Hmm.
and we don't know where our donors are coming from. We really don't.
And I think making sure we have as much respectful conversation, which to me, we should be modeling, even if we're frustrated with what's going on, because that's one thing that's in some places missing in the conversations. Modeling that, I think, is important.
Yeah.
I think it's where nonprofits can be a leader, is in a convening conversations or having respectful conversations,
Mhm.
even if you're working to fight against what's happening.
Right. So circling back to building confidence, everybody, let's just sum up a little bit. First of all, is self-talk and how you're holding yourself, right, Beth Ann? You are not
Yes.
down, you are wearing the mantle of your organization, and you're talking to a donor who loves your work.
That's right.
Okay.
The,
Who
that's
probably
right.
wants to get an update and know why the heck they haven't heard from you. You know?
Yes, especially with a lot of talk about waste, you want to make sure the donor knows that the gift was received and it's gone to work right away and it's done XYZ.
Right. And another point for building confidence is approach it as a thank you call. And then
Mm-hmm.
you move into the number three point is asking permission, right?
Yes, yes.
And fourth point is be likable and be charming if you can about the way you're reaching out to the donor so you sound interesting enough that they'll spend time with you. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and what are our other points? Beth Ann, we
Well,
threw a bunch of them out there today.
yes, we did. I mean, I think just having a few phrases and being prepared is really important. And I was just going to say, if you're worried about not knowing how to make a thank you call to your major donors, start with the mid-level donor. Pick up the phone and call one of them until you feel really smooth doing that. That's not going to hurt the giving from and the connection that your mid-level donors have as well. But it's important that we offer opportunities for a back and forth conversation. It's trust building, it's more authentic to have conversations, and it's how we're going to build a sustainable major gift program.
That's exactly right. Well, hooray, hooray, everybody. The time is ripe for major
Yes.
coming from donors. The stock market continues to go up in the US, and that means that donors who have stock investments are doing very well. And they're paying attention to how you are doing, and they want, remember, the donors want to hear, they're expecting to hear from you. And
Yes.
if they're not hearing from you, they're going, well, these people don't like me anymore. They're not appreciating my support.
We've talked about that with your gift, Gail, when you hadn't heard from somebody. And I think the phrase you said to me, the pledge payment can become a chore instead of a joy.
Oh yeah.
So it's
Yeah.
one reason we really want to be in conversation so that we're not just being very transactional, kind of a money grab, and then we don't need to talk to you anymore because we got the money.
Good.
That's a really important thing to avoid.
Yeah. Well, everybody, we hope you have a wonderful day, rest of the day, and it is snowing all over. It seems all over the country. It's raining in the south. We hope that you're staying warm And if you are in California, we hope that we're so glad that the fires are out and that you are moving forward into some recovery mode. And we wish everybody well in this very volatile and interesting environment that we find ourselves in.
Yeah.
Thanks so much.
Take
Bye.